More than 100 guns have been seized by Western Australian police. The raids targeted gun owners known for supporting sovereign citizen ideology. Over 5 days, officers raided metro and regional parts of the state. The operation was done in response to the deaths of 2 Victorian officers allegedly shot by sovereign citizen Dezi Freeman, who remains on the run. Well, joining us live is Dr Terry Goldsworthy, criminal justice and criminology expert. Great to see you, Terry. Yeah, what can you tell us in terms of the latest on Dezi Freeman and your thoughts on that story?
Yeah, look, I think that's a good initiative by the WA Police. I mean, any firearms we can take out of the community that shouldn't be there are a bonus. So I'm interested in the fact there's been so many found, like whether they were stolen firearms or part of the grey market that is unregistered firearms would be interesting to know. I guess the other aspect that leads to is the National Firearms Register is still not up and running yet. After the William shootings, that was agreed to, so that can't happen fast enough. In terms of Dezi Freeman, I think it's interesting. We've seen the Victoria Police indicate that they've scaled back the personnel involved in that search. I don't think they've given up by any stretch of the imagination, and this will probably go on at least for the next couple of months. If he's not found in that period, 2 or 3 months out, I think you'll see scaling back of the resources, but they'll still be there and dedicated to trying to find him until they can find out if there's been some other outcome, whether he's self-harmed or whatever. They'll just assume that he's still out there and still needs to be captured.
And what are your thoughts on, as well, the Premier of Queensland, David Freeman, spoke a few days ago about their police rapid response unit. They're saying that 1,000 youths have been arrested with this particular response unit. And David Freeman said we're only just starting in terms of those numbers. He also went on to say that the victim numbers are down in the space of 6 months, down 5.7%. What are your thoughts on the numbers and the arrests and so forth?
Yeah, it's interesting. So the ABS data came out, and you might remember Christopher promised to resign if he didn't get victim numbers down. That data came out and showed in Queensland we'd had a decrease, I think, of about 30 or 40 victims. So the victim numbers from the ABS were down, but only by a handful. In terms of the arrest numbers, I think they're good. It shows the police are focusing on the problem areas in terms of those young people committing crime. The government's now been in power for a year, so it's running out of time to blame the previous government. It's now going to be judged on its own merits. At the moment, it seems to be okay, but we are still at a 20-year high in the crime rate. It has stabilised. It hasn't gone down, and that'll be the key. I guess the key for youth offenders is targeting those serious repeat offenders where we had about 400 or thereabouts last count. If they can be reduced by the government and by the police, then I suspect they'll be successful in reducing crime overall as well.
We spoke to the Shadow New South Wales Minister Paul Toole a couple of hours ago today, Terry, and we spoke about a couple of the articles in the News Corp papers about the New South Wales Police. They're basically saying that teenagers have been given bail twice in the space of about 4 days. What are your thoughts on what's happening in New South Wales?
Well, I can see some similarity between New South Wales and Queensland, and it looks like where we were a year or two ago in terms of bail. You simply cannot afford to give bail to serious repeat youth offenders if they're going to continue to offend whilst on bail. Bail is a privilege. It shouldn't be just some blasé thing that everyone thinks they're going to get. And if you breach and commit offences on bail, then you should not be getting bail again. I saw that the New South Wales government has restricted bail or tightened it, but it's still discretionary in the main. And the problem is where you leave discretion, usually it falls on the side of allowing people out to commit more offences, has been the experience in Queensland. So until the government tightens that up, and they'll have to make a decision. If they're not happy with the decisions of the magistrates and judges, then you need to legislate to enforce what your will is and what the expectations of the community are. So the government can fix that if it needs to, but you must stop that cycle of offending, and you do that by keeping the serious repeat offenders in jail pending their matters being decided, and that just breaks up that cycle of crime.
And roughly on numbers in terms of young offenders, again, we're hearing 11-year-olds up to 15, 16-year-olds, but the younger age group, are we seeing more of offenders, people in that age?
Look, the latest data from the Bureau of Crime Stats New South Wales shows that for 2024-25, the numbers and the rate have not increased. They've gone down slightly, if anything, but only very slightly. So there's been no great increase in offending numbers. What you might be seeing, and we saw it in Queensland, is some very high-profile offences. I mean, if you look at that offence in Moree, one, you've got the 11-year-old child going in there, but more so, you've got these offenders going in, kicking in a front door. Now, if you kick in a front door, you know you're probably going to raise the occupants of the house, and they were armed and ready for that. So that indicates a far higher level of criminality in my mind than some kids sneaking into a house at night trying to steal something without waking the owner. These kids were allegedly prepared to take and confront the owner on, and those situations become extremely dangerous. So if you're seeing more of those, that's where it becomes problematic.
All right, Dr Terry Goldsworthy, always appreciate you joining us today. I think we've run out of time, but maybe 5 seconds, your pick for tonight's NRL Broncos?
Go the Storm.
Oh, the
Go
Storm.
Storm.
Why the Storm, not Queensland? You're in
I've
Queensland?
never forgiven the Broncos since they sacked Wally Lewis in 1990, so I'm holding on to that one.
Fair call. Okay, well, good luck. Thanks so much as always. A Supreme Court action